Now, Israel is facing international criticism over its recent bombings, claiming to target Hamas leadership in Doha. At the United Nations Security Council, the ally United States joined the chorus of nations, including Russia and China, to condemn these Israeli bombings. This comes as Israel continues to stand firm, vowing that it will target its adversaries anywhere in the world. Now, condemning the Israeli bombings on Qatari capital, the 15-member council has called for de-escalation in a statement that has stopped short of explicitly mentioning that it was Israel that carried out the bombings. Now, the council has emphasized that releasing the hostages, including those killed by Hamas, and ending the war in Gaza are the top priority. So even as it has hailed Qatar's mediation efforts so far.
Unilateral bombing inside Qatar, a sovereign nation working very hard and bravely taking risks alongside the United States to broker peace, does not advance Israel's or America's goals.
Now, the Israelis have justified their attacks, drawing comparison to 9/11 and drawing parallels with the United States avenging the killing of its citizens.
Osama bin Laden was killed in Pakistan, and no one condemned the US. And when other countries in this council attack terrorists, no one condemns them. And that is the issue of double standards. When you apply different standards on Israel, then the standard you apply on yourselves, that is the problem of this institution.
Now, Prime Minister Netanyahu also made a very similar comment earlier, warning countries that harbor terrorists.
We did exactly what America did when it went after the terrorists, the Al-Qaeda terrorists in Afghanistan, and after they went and killed Osama bin Laden in Pakistan.
Now, condemning Israel, Pakistan also joined the United Arab Emirates and other Arab nations to call out Israeli actions. Pakistani Prime Minister even called for Muslim unity, meeting Qatar's emir following the Israeli strikes. Now, according to reports, after Doha, Israel might train its eyes on the NATO member Turkey. Now, Turkey, remember, has cut off all trade ties with the state of Israel, condemning its aggression in the Gaza Strip. It has barred the Israeli vessels from using its ports and has also imposed restrictions on planes entering into Turkish airspace. Now, Hamas long ago had established offices in Istanbul, and reports claim that after the Doha attacks, Hamas may now seek assistance from Turkey. If it does, can Israel also bomb Turkey next? Now, joining the chorus against Israel, China's permanent representative to the United Nations, Fu Kong, claimed that the Israeli attacks infringed on Qatar's sovereignty and territorial security.
The world cannot revert to the law of the jungle, and the Middle East must not remain shrouded in the shadow of war.
Now, Russia's permanent representative to the United Nations has said that condoning this attack would mean encouraging Israel to target its political opponents in other capitals around the world.
If the Israelis are willing to eliminate their political opponents in a state that is so close to their main ally, what is then stopping them from carrying out similar acts in any other capital in the world? We call upon West Jerusalem to abandon the reckless acts of aggression which provoke the ongoing waves of violence in the region.
All right, now joining us live from London on the broadcast, we've got Ms. Jane Kininmont, who's the CEO of the United Nations Association UK. Ms. Kininmont, thank you very much indeed for joining us here on WION. Now, this of course is the big question that a lot of people are talking about. The fact that the Israelis went ahead to try to take out the Hamas leaders who are negotiating for a hostage release deal and for a ceasefire deal in Doha, a nation that has positioned itself as one of the key negotiators. What kind of support do you think the Israelis will get for this action from the Americans?
The Americans did not do anything to stop the attack. And so this is something that is really worrying all of the Gulf states. To put that in context, Qatar spends a lot of money on investing in the US, buying weapons with the US, and it also hosts the US's main air base in the Gulf at Al Udeid, which Qatar pays for. All of this is intended as an insurance policy so that they think the US would help to provide security for them if they're threatened. In the past, they particularly worried about possible threats from Iran or even from Saudi Arabia. The countries are friends at the moment, but they've had tensions in the past. What Gulf states are asking now is, why didn't the US react? Why didn't the US stop this? They will have seen that the Israeli planes were coming in. Where were the warnings? And the Qataris have said that the US told them about the attack, but actually after it began, so they already knew what was going on. And this is really sending a shockwave around the Gulf and making them think that they cannot rely on the US in the way that they historically have. And Trump will be worried about that, because if you remember when he first came to power, back in May, his first big foreign visit was a visit to the Gulf. He went around the Gulf. He announced billions of dollars of new arms sales. Qatar said it would spend $42 billion on buying American arms. And he said to them all, it's going to be a great new era of peace in the region. He's also got quite a lot of business interests in the Gulf. All of that is now under threat. So it is partly these economic drivers that help to explain why the US is not supporting Israel at the UN in the way that it normally does. But for the Gulf countries, these are just words.
Right. Now, the fact that Israel has also cut off a lot of its relations with Israel and Hamas, it appears, considering the fact that it has its offices in Doha, but also perhaps may want to shift to a different location. How do you think this will now affect what is happening in the Middle East vis-a-vis Turkey?
So the Speaker of the Israeli Knesset, Israel's parliament, tweeted a video of the bombing of Doha with a caption saying, "This is a message to the entire Middle East." And that is being widely interpreted in the region as meaning that no country should feel entirely safe, and that Israel will take military action against them unilaterally if Israel judges that that would help its security. And there has been some speculation, including from some hawkish Washington think tanks, such as the American Enterprise Institute, that Turkey could be next. I think direct action by Israel against Turkey is exceedingly unlikely because Turkey is a NATO member. And it would have the ability to call on NATO's collective security guarantees. Israel may be a security partner of various Western countries, but it is not a member of NATO, and NATO would be obliged to come to Turkey's defense. Now, if the US said no, that would be a bigger problem still, because that would send a message to Russia that NATO's collective security guarantees were now in doubt, and that would mean the risk of another war in Europe would go up dramatically. So NATO would have a strong interest in banding together. It's a bit of a nightmare scenario for NATO, and hopefully something that nobody would consider to be a good idea.
Interesting. I think you've summed it up really well. Thank you very much indeed, Ms. Jane Kieran-Bond, for joining us with that perspective there.
Thank you.